Hello, students. Welcome back. Hope you guys are doing really good. So, we'll be doing Animal Kingdom Part 2. Hope you have understood whatever was there in Part 1. Please do share and subscribe, and please do comment if there is any mistakes. I'm ready to correct it for all of you. So, my dear friends, my dear students, now open your textbook, Animal Kingdom, page number 54. Now we'll be starting with phylum Chordata. Animals belonging to phylum Chordata are fundamentally characterized by the presence of a notochord, a dorsal hollow nerve cord, paired pharyngeal gill slits, like it is mentioned in figure 4.6 how the gill slits are present, and these are bilaterally symmetrical, triploblastic, coelomate organ system level of organization, and they have a post-anal tail and they have a closed circulatory system. Now that is actually the general features of phylum Chordata. So animals belonging to phylum Chordata, I'm repeating again what are the main features. Now make sure you guys highlight each and everything. The word presence of notochord, dorsal hollow nerve cord, paired pharyngeal gill slits, they are bilaterally symmetrical, triploblastic, coelomate, and organ system level of organization. Now we're moving on to table 4.1. That is important. That is like a basic difference. So the next table is actually a difference between chordates and non-chordates. So in chordates, notochord is present, whereas in non-chordates, notochord is absent. Now the second difference is that central nervous system is dorsal, hollow or single. When it comes to the non-chordates, it is central nervous system is ventral, solid or double. In chordates, pharynx is perforated by gill slits, whereas in non-chordates, gill slits is not even absent. Not even present. Heart is ventral in chordates, heart is dorsal if heart is present in non-chordates. A post-anal tail is present for chordates, but it is not present in non-chordates. So now we are moving on to the phylum Chordata in detail. So the phylum Chordata is subdivided into three subphylum, that is Urochordata, which is also known as Tunicata, Cephalochordata and Vertebrata. Subphylum Urochordata and Cephalochordata are often referred to as protochordates, and they are exclusively marine. In Urochordata, notochord is present only in their larval stage, while in Cephalochordata it extends from head to the tail in the region and it is persistent throughout their life. So examples of Urochordata is actually Ascidia, that is given in the figure 4.17, Salfa and Doliolum. Cephalochordata examples are actually Branchiostoma, Branchiostoma, which is also known as Amphioxus or lancelet. That is important. The word lancelet is actually important. Now, in the above paragraph, it is very important to understand that in Urochordata, notochord is only present in the larval tail. So, make sure you circle larval tail and put a star over there so that when you revise, you always remember that. And you need to know another name for Urochordata, that is Tunicata. And Cephalochordata is also referred to as protochord. So, till here, that is much important. Now, the members of the subphylum Vertebrata possess a notochord during the embryonic period. The notochord is replaced by a cartilaginous or bony vertebral column in an adult. Thus, all vertebrates are chordates, but all chordates are not vertebrates. That is an important line. Besides the basic chordate characters, vertebrates have a ventral muscular heart with 2, 3 or 4 chambers, kidneys for excretion and osmoregulation, and paired appendages which may be fins or limb. So in the above paragraph, there is not much of an important, but notochord is being replaced by a vertebral column. That is important. And this line, that is all vertebrates are chordates, but all chordates are not vertebrates. That is important, and we are done with this page. Now moving on to the next page, you will see a mind map actually of vertebrates. That is important. It can actually help you to recollect everything really fast. So the vertebrata is subdivided into two: agnatha and gnathostomata. Now, agnatha means it does not have a jaw, lacks jaw. In gnathostomata, it has jaw. Now, agnatha has only one class, that is cyclostomata, whereas gnathostomata has two superclasses, that is Pisces and Tetrapoda. Now, Pisces means, you know, like the astrology we have seen in horoscope, Pisces represents the fishes, right? The same way, here also the same applies, Pisces, which means it bears fin. And so the two classes under Pisces superclass is actually chondrichthyes and osteichthyes. Now moving on to the superclass, and the second superclass of gnathostomata, that is Tetrapoda, which bear limbs instead of fins. Now the class which comes under that is actually amphibia, reptilia, apes and mammals. So I hope that is clear. Now we are moving on to the very first class, which is under agnatha, that is cyclostomata. All living members of the class cyclostomata are ectoparasites on some fishes. They have an elongated body bearing 6 to 15 pairs of gill slits. So gills for respiration. Cyclostomes have a sucking and circular mouth without jaw. Their body is devoid of scales and they have a paired fin. Cranium and the vertebral column are cartilaginous. Circulation is of a close type. Cyclostomes are marine, but they migrate for spawning to fresh water. After spawning, within a few days, they die. Their larvae, after metamorphosis, they return to the ocean. Petromycin, also known as lamprey, and myxin, which is also known as hagfish. So now you'll be wondering, what is spawning? Spawning means it is actually releasing or depositing their eggs somewhere, and after spawning, after depositing or releasing, they die. So their larvae is actually, so the eggs develop into the larvae after metamorphosis and they return into the oceans. Now we are moving on to the second class, that is chondrichthyes. Chondrichthyes, they are marine animals with streamlined body. They have a cartilaginous endoskeleton. Mouth is located ventrally. Notochord is persistent throughout life. Gill slits are separate without operculum. That means operculum is actually gill cover. The skin is tough, containing minute placoid scales. Teeth is modified placoid scales, which is backwardly directed. Their jaws are very powerful. These animals are predaceous. Due to the absence of air bladder, they have to swim constantly to avoid sinking. Heart is two-chambered, that means one auricle in one ventricle. Some of them have electric organs, as in torpedo, and some possess poison sting, that is trigon. They are cold-blooded, which means poikilothermous animals, and they lack the capacity to regulate their body temperature according to the surrounding. Sexes are separate. In males, pelvic fins bear claspers. They have an internal fertilization. Many of them are viviparous. Examples are Scoliodon, which means dogfish, Pristis, sawfish, Caracodon is great white shark, trigon is stingray. I hope things are clear till now, and now we are moving on to the class osteichthyes. It includes both marine and freshwater fishes with bony endoskeleton. The body is streamlined, Mouth is mostly terminal. They have 4 pairs of gills which is covered by an operculum on each side. Skin is covered by cycloid or ctenoid scales. Air bladder is present which regulates their buoyancy. Heart is two-chambered, which again means one auricle and one ventricle. They are cold-blooded animals. Sexes are separate. Fertilization is external. They are mostly oviparous and development is direct. So the examples given here is marine, which means exocetus, flying fish, hippocampus, seahorse. Now hippocampus, labio is also important, cutla, claris. Aquarium fishes are actually beta, which is fighting fish, pterophyllum, which is angelfish. So the important examples here is actually hippocampus, which is also known as seahorse, freshwater fishes, labio, rohu, labio, which is also known as rohu, cutla, which is also known as katla, that is also pronounced as cutla. Clarius, Magpur. Clarius is not much important, but if you see the previous year questions, they have mostly asked about hippocampus in freshwater, labio, rohu, and they have asked about the fighting fish, which is beta. Now moving on to the next class, Amphibia. As the name indicates, the dual life, amphibians live in aquatic as well as terrestrial habitats. Most of them have 2 pairs of limbs. Body is divisible into, that is, it is divided into head and the trunk. Tail may be present in some. The amphibian is moist without scales. The eyes have an eyelid. A tymphanum represents the ear. Alimentary canal, urinary and the reproductive tract open into the exterior. Respiration is by gills, lungs and through skin. So, these reproductive tract, alimentary canal and urinary tract open into a common chamber which is known as cloaca. So, cloaca is important, so make sure you circle it and put a star above it, so when you revise it's easy. So, respiration is by gills, lungs and through skin. The heart is 3-chambered, which means 2 auricle and 1 ventricle. They are cold-blooded animals. Sexes are separate. Fertilization is external. They are oviparous. Development is indirect. So, the examples are actually bufo toad, rana, which is frog, hyla, which is tree frog, salamandra, which is salamander, ichthyopus, which is limbless amphibia. So till here we have completed. Now we are moving on to reptilia. So we'll be finishing it. So only 2 classes are left and we are done with this chapter. So class reptilia. The class name refers to creeping or crawling mode of locomotion. So here the next in what is mentioned in the bracket is actually the Latin meaning of reptiles, which means they creep or crawl with reptum. They are mostly terrestrial animals and their body is covered by dry and cornified skin. Epidermal scales or scutes are present. They do not have an external ear opening. Tymphanum represents the ear like in amphibians, and limbs when present they are present in pairs, in 2 pairs. Heart is usually 3-chambered, which means 2 auricles and 1 ventricle, but it is 4-chambered in the case of crocodiles. Now this statement has been asked in numerous exams, numerous times in NEET exams, so that is very important. Only in crocodiles it is 4-chambered, rest it is 3-chambered. Reptiles are poikilotherms, that means they are cold-blooded, they cannot balance their internal body temperature with the external body temperature. Fertilization is internal. Snakes and lizards have shed their scales as skin cast. They are oviparous and development is direct. Now the examples are very important in this entire chapter. Chelone, which means turtle, testudo, tortoise, camelon, which is tree lizard, calots, green lizard, crocodilus, which is crocodile, alligator, which is alligator, Hemidactylus, which is wall lizard. Poisonous snakes, that is Naja or cobra. Banjaris is crate. Vipera, viper. So the most poisonous snake is actually cobra, which is also known as Naja. Now we're moving on to the second last class, which is aves, which comes under Gnathostomata. Characteristic features of aves are the presence of feathers. Most of them can fly, but except there are some like ostrich. Ostrich is actually an example of flightless birds. They possess a beak. Now, this is important. The forelimbs are modified to wings and their hind limbs are generally modified into scales or they are modified for walking, swimming or clasping on the tree branches. Skin is dry without glands except the oil gland. So the oil gland is actually also known as preen gland or urogeal gland. Now these words are important. So just write it near the class ave. There will be a space in your textbook, right? So make sure you write this. Oil gland is also known as preen gland or urogeal gland. So the endoskeleton, which is fully ossified, which means it is bony. If there is long bones, they are actually hollow with air cavities. Now this is known as pneumatic bones. The digestive tract of birds have an additional chambers which is known as crop and gizzard. Heart is completely four-chambered. They are warm-blooded homeothermous animals. And homeothermous, which means they are able to regulate their body temperature, maintain a constant body temperature. So respiration is by lungs. Air sacs are connected to the lungs to supplement respiration. Sexes are separate. Fertilization is internal. They are oviparous. Development is direct. And now we're moving on to the examples. Corvus, that is crow. Columba, that is pigeon. Pistacula, which means parrot. Strutio, which means ostrich. Pavo, which means peacock. And Aptenodytes, which means penguin. And Neophron, which means vulture. Now, moving on to the very last class, that is Mammalia. They are found in habitats, polar ice caps, deserts, mountains, forest, grassland, and dark caves. So by reading this very first line, we need to understand that they are homeothermous, which means they are able to adapt to or maintain a constant body temperature. So the word mammalia itself suggests that it is their most unique characteristic is the presence of milk producing gland, that is the mammary gland, by which the young ones are nourished. They have two pairs of limbs adapted for walking, running, climbing, burrowing, swimming or flying. See, examples are given in the figure. This very first one is Ornithorhynchus, Macropus, Petropus and Balenopetra. So in the next page, the characteristic of mammals is given again. That is, it is unique because it is possessing hair. External ears or pinna is present. Different types of teeth are present in the jaw. Heart is four-chambered. That means two auricle and two ventricle. Respiration is by lungs. Sexes are separate. Fertilization is internal. They are viviparous with few exemptions and development is direct. Now examples of oviparous is actually Ornithorhynchus, which is platypus. Viviparous animals like Macropus, which is kangaroo, Petropus, flying fox, Camelus, camel, Macaca, which means monkey, Ratus, which means rat, Canis, which means dog, Felis, which means cat, Elephas, which means elephant, Equus, horse, Delphinus is common dolphin, Balenopetra is actually blue whale, Panthera tigris and Panthera leo is tigress, which means tiger, Leo means lion. Panthera means they belong to the same family. So that is it with our entire chapter of Animal Kingdom. Thank you so much for hearing. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this channel if you find this helpful. So please do comment down below if there is any changes that I need to make or anything I need to add on, so that you will feel comfortable and this entire chapter is at your fingertips. So I need you guys to be that thorough so that each and every chapter, wherever questions are being asked, you will be able to answer. So that much clean scan is required in order to score really good marks. So I'm always there for you guys. So please do comment, like, and subscribe. Thank you so much. Until then, God bless you all.